All right, and we back on the forecast. So, out in Ohio, a brother by the name of Emirius Spencer is suing the police department for police brutality, saying that the officers beat him and violated his civil rights. So, let's go back and see what happened to the brother.
This is Euclid Police dash camera video, released to the Fox 8 I-Team. It shows Euclid officers escorting a handcuffed Emirius Spencer from his apartment building last year. But the focus now is not what you see, but what you're about to hear from an officer. Spencer said then-Officer Michael Amiott and Officer Shane Rivera used excessive force during the December 2016 arrest, something the union representing the officers disputes. This dash camera video is from an officer who arrived at the scene after the arrest.
A little excitement.
The officer is heard speaking to a fellow officer outside in the parking lot. The two officers were not involved in the arrest, but showed up as backup if needed.
What did he have? I know it's an off-duty thing, but said he was trying to take his taser. That would be a damn shame. I guess I'd have to shoot.
The attorney who represents Spencer in a civil lawsuit against Euclid Police says he finds the remark offensive.
I mean, it's disgusting and it's shocking and it's hard to believe.
He says his client had a small amount of marijuana and was cooperative with police. He said officers kicked and used a taser on his client and broke his orbital bone.
And it also says to me that it's system-wide, right? I mean, it's the department. It's department-wide because, was this guy disciplined for this statement?
Police officials were not able to talk to us on camera, but said they were not aware of what the officer said. They said no discipline has been issued, but they are reviewing the matter. We were not able to reach officials with FOP Lodge 18 who represent Euclid officers to discuss the comments made by the officer. The FOP released a statement earlier this week saying they believe the officer's use of force was justified and that Officer Amiott was hurt during the arrest. Officer Amiott was fired in October after an arrest he made in August was caught on tape. During that arrest, Officer Amiott can be seen punching Richard Hubbard, who was stopped for a traffic violation. All charges against Hubbard were dismissed last month.
So officers Michael Amiott and Shane Rivera were off duty and they were just working as security in Emirius Spencer's apartment complex. Now, according to the police, they encountered this brother in the hallway and they said that they immediately smelled quote-unquote raw marijuana. And after they found it and confiscated it, he tried to take it back. And according to these officers, when they said he was under arrest, he refused to comply and he was resisting, forcing them to beat him. Then they said as they were beating him, he repeatedly reached in his pockets and stiffened up. But at the same time, he was also reaching for the officer's taser. By the way, what happened to all the help they were supposed to be giving all of these people addicted to drugs anyway? I thought they were supposed to be sending them to hospitals and all that stuff. Letting them turn their drugs in with no questions asked. They didn't give this brother that opportunity. But this isn't the first time this cop, Michael Amiott, has gotten in trouble for using excessive force when trying to arrest somebody. This is the same cop who was caught on camera using force to handcuff a 16-year-old girl.
So we'll call him out right over up there.
How old are you?
I'm 16, library.
Okay.
Extra shit for no fucking reason.
Do you have any form of identification on you?
Yeah, it's in my bag.
Okay. What would that be? Would that be a Ohio identification card?
Yes.
Okay.
How old is she? How old is she?
16.
Okay. Where's it at in your bag so we can
Don't
get it?
touch my bag, bro. Don't touch shit,
Bruh.
bro.
Sit down.
Excuse me.
We're gonna get your ID. Where's your ID at?
In my bag, bro.
Okay.
You're not touching my bag.
Listen, where's your ID?
You're not touching
Can you get it out
my
of your bag? Can you get it out
No,
of your bag?
my mother will get it on my bag.
We're gonna take it out. So just don't move.
Bro, you cannot touch my fuck. Bro, what the fuck is you doing?
Here, just lay her down. You wanna lay her down?
Yeah.
I swear to God.
On the floor. Lay down.
tell her to calm down?
Blake.
Hold on 1 second.
Hold on,
Hold on 1 second. We're gonna let her off. Just making sure she don't have any weapons in here.
Blake.
We'll get a check. We'll stand her up. Just.
I got it. Blake. I got you.
Mom, I sit in the first
Blake,
part.
just stay right here.
I'm telling you, where is that, man? It's in the
Blake.
back.
Blake, I got it.
Hurry,
Stop.
man.
Don't
Tell these niggas get off me.
Blake, don't say nothing else, please.
Now, this same cop, Michael Amiott, was also caught on camera beating up another brother, and he eventually got fired for it. Now, I guess it's only so many times that you can get caught on camera beating up black people before they have to do something about it. So after the third strike, they eventually fire him. Mind you, he's never brought up on charges for any of this stuff. Now, according to Emirius Spencer, the off-duty police officers reached into his pocket. That's when they found a small amount of marijuana and grabbed him by the arm and shoved him against the wall while ordering him to stop resisting. And he says he denies he ever resisted the officers. Officer Michael Amiott then kneed him in the groin and shoved him to the floor while Officer Shane Rivera jumped on his back and restrained his arms and legs. Arama said Officer Michael Amiott kicked him in the face, and when he called out for help, that both of the officers hit him with the stun gun before placing him in cuffs. The brother eventually had to get treatment for a broken bone in his face. But of course, the Fraternal Order of Police President David Trin refuted the claims and said the force of use was reasonable. Now, not only is people like Officer Michael Amiott protected by the police department, the police union, the Fraternal Order of Police, they're also protected by the D.A. They're protected by people like the D.A. in New York, Joel Abelove. Now, this particular D.A. ended up getting indicted on perjury and official misconduct in the police shooting murder of the brother Edson Thevenin.
My heart aches for those who stand on the side of injustice.
Protesters demanding justice for two men shot by Troy police.
Prosecute the cops.
How many more? It really needs to stop.
We want the same justice that is applied to us under the law to be applied to the individuals that govern us.
I'm dying. You're not dying.
22-year-old Demeek McDonald was shot and injured during a traffic stop in Troy this summer. He was wanted by state parole. 37-year-old Edson Thevenin was fatally shot in April 2016 after police say he pinned an officer between two vehicles when they tried to pull him over for suspicion of drunk driving. The handling of those cases by police and the district attorney have been deeply criticized by some Troy residents.
It's just a miscarriage of justice.
McDonald's uncle, Messiah, led a Black Lives Matter march Saturday from the scene of his nephew's shooting to downtown Troy.
How many more? It really needs to stop.
I want to see a ripple effect, of course, for the legal aspect of this case to be handled the way it should be, with transparency and the justice of the law.
The group is calling for the resignation of District Attorney Joel Abelove, who recused himself from McDonald's case and has faced backlash for his handling of Thevenin's case before a grand jury. They also want to form a civilian review board to have a say in those who protect and serve their community.
I want people to engage in genuine dialogue and stop fearing people that they don't know, and to understand that we're, at the end of the day, a lot of us are a lot alike.
I want to know that it's safe to be black in the city where I live and I love, and to live my life fully without concern of dying early because of the color of my skin.
Now, they say they suspect this brother of drunk driving when he was pulled over by Officer Randall French, who ended up shooting him 8 times, killing him. Now, according to the report, there was a short chase after which Officer Randall French claimed Edson tried to run him over. He ended up shooting him 8 times through the windshield, and witnesses who testified to the grand jury said he was not in danger at the time he fired the shots. Now, this DA, Joel Abelove, is accused of concealing evidence, lying during the investigation, interfering with the investigation, and instead of giving the requested information related to the shooting, he presented a truncated version of the story to the grand jury. Officer Randall French was cleared of the shooting less than a week later. Now, it's not like this is anything new. even though we don't hear of too many instances where anybody gets punished for it. But we know that there is a history of this sort of thing happening. The point is, they put themselves into positions where they can protect each other. That's why it's important for us to, especially in the local elections, to be in charge of where our local tax dollars go. Who is your local representative? Who is your district representative? Mayor? Who appoints the police chief in your neighborhood? Who picks the DA in your neighborhood? And if you can vote for the DA, then we need to not only be voting, but to actually be running for the office. While we hoping and praying and wishing and begging for a change, the only time things are going to change is when we change them.
A stunner in Suffolk County today. District Attorney Thomas Spota indicted, charged in a corruption case involving a police chief who's now in prison. CBS 2's Jennifer McLogan live with this story for us in Central Islip tonight. Jennifer.
Dana, good evening. 76-year-old Thomas Spota, who is the longest-serving district attorney in Suffolk County history, announced in May that he would not be seeking a fifth term in November. And tonight, we may know why. In a stunning fall from grace, Democrat Thomas Spota, who was elected 16 years ago as a corruption fighter, was indicted on federal charges a short time ago. Charged in an alleged cover-up of an assault at the hands of Spota protege, former Suffolk Police Chief James Burke, now a convicted felon. The DA faces 3 counts: conspiracy to tamper with witnesses, obstructing an official proceeding, and obstruction of justice.
Tom Spota committed no crime. In fact, for many years of a very long and distinguished career, Tom has worked hard to investigate and prosecute crime and deliver justice to the residents of Suffolk County. Tom categorically denies the government's charges, and he looks forward to vindicating himself in court.
The feds say Spota protected James Burke, now serving a 46-month federal sentence for violating the 2012 civil rights of Christopher Loeb, who stole the chief's duffel bag containing a gun belt, handcuffs, sex toys, and pornography. Burke pleaded guilty to assaulting Loeb and orchestrating a cover-up of the attack.
Every time I asked for a lawyer, I got hit again, I got hit again, I got choked, I got punched, I got slapped, I got kicked.
Spota looked weary and pale before the judge, pleaded not guilty, put up his home as collateral for the $500,000 bond, surrendered his passport. The timing of the arrest, so near the election, is making waves. Suffolk's police commissioner hopes to succeed Spota.
I was asked to become police commissioner to clean up Burke's mess. I'm now going to become district attorney and clean up Spota's mess.
Are you going to clean house when you come in?
Obviously, a lot of movement, a lot of changes are going to occur.
Welcome to the cesspool I call Suffolk County. When we have this going on in our county, it's an embarrassment. And believe me, this is the tip of the iceberg.
Calls to resign went unanswered. Spota's chief aide, ironically head of his political corruptions unit, was also indicted today. Investigations continue.
It all started at a summer festival with the beanbag toss, but quickly turned ugly. Now this woman from South Suburban Alsip is charged with a hate crime that hundreds of thousands have now watched on social media. CBS 2's Charlie DeMar joins us live from the newsroom. Charlie.
Erica, good evening. Today, that woman, Jessica Sanders, explains why she reacted the way she did. And the man on the receiving end says he pulled out his phone and started recording because he couldn't believe what he was hearing. That's Jessica Sanders repeatedly yelling the N-word into Ernest Krim's cell phone camera. To me! At Margarita Fest back in July.
It was immediately, you know, what are you all doing? We're almost done. You could have asked to play. This is ignorant.
Both say the confrontation started over whose turn it was to play the game bags or cornhole, but the argument quickly escalated.
Come, let's say it again. And as soon as I pressed record, she slapped it out my hand.
Sanders can be seen spitting. Krim says his wife, who was standing nearby, was hit.
To think that somebody would think of you to that low of a level that they would spit on you.
In a radio interview, Sanders says to her, the N-word means ignorant.
Caucasian, Asian, purple, pink, it doesn't matter what color you are. If you're being ignorant, you're being ignorant. I don't understand how it got so blown out of proportion that it needed to get this far.
Nonsense. She's just trying to protect herself like anybody would.
Now Sanders facing battery and hate crime charges.
Even before I was charged with any hate crime or anything that I'm being charged with, I would have given him an apology because it was wrong of me to use that word.
I have no desire to ever talk to her or meet her in person.
Now, Krim, a high school history teacher, actually used the video in his class as a teaching tool, showing it to his students on the first day of class. And as you heard, Krim isn't looking for an apology. Rather, he's hoping for those charges to stick.
Please see a white doctor. It's only available after 4. If you're not, so you're saying in the whole entire building there isn't one white doctor? Your kid has to be seen by a pediatrician. Okay, so when you're telling me that my kid has chest pains, he's gonna have to sit here until 4 o'clock. Can I see a doctor, please, that's white? That doesn't have brown teeth or speaks English. Huh?
If the doctor is black,
okay, don't get started with this. Being white in this country, I should just shoot myself.
Go to the hospital. Go to the hospital.
Does being white makes him more...
Go to the hospital.
Well, speaking English is one thing. Being white is different.
How are you communicating to everyone if everyone's incapable of speaking English?
Yeah.
They're licensed. That's why they're here.
Your child clearly has more issues with you being his mother than him needing to see a doctor. You are extremely rude and racist. You want to talk about people being at a hospital? Maybe you should check yourself.
There was a daughter.
I don't
a girl
care.
that died over there. I'm asking for my.
Why
are you yelling at me? This is what happens when
You are yelling at everyone. You are yelling at everyone.
My son is sick.
So
You're
what?
coming here to fight me because
No, we are not fighting. We are fighting because...
You're brown. You're all attacking
Well,
me.
there are... I'm sure there are other people who are reasonable.
Because you're racist.
No, because I'm white.
No.
You're attacking me.
Slurs.
Hold on.
That's not
no,
okay.
Step back. This is my personal bubble.
She is perfectly standing...
This lady stole something in the grocery store, and they was following me around. See? They was following me around today, thought I was going to take something. This white lady was stealing shit, but they were following me around, and she was the one that was stealing. See what I'm saying? See that? And she's still talking shit. White lady just stole shit, got caught for stealing some shit. See that? And they were following me around. These motherfuckers are crazy. Look at it. She got caught trying to shoplift and shit. And they were following me around and shit. Ain't that a bitch? Look at, she's still talking. If that was a black woman, they would put her under the jail and shit.
Well, new at 5, an American Idol finalist goes on social media to complain about racial comments made about him at a Popeye's Chicken at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport.
In the past hour, we learned that the store owner has suspended the worker who made those remarks. Fox 5's Natalie Foltz talked to Bo Bice today at his home, who says he's upset about what happened.
A father.
Here's a lollipop for you, princess.
A husband.
Good job, ladybug.
But not a racist.
I'm not a bigot. I love everyone.
That's why musician Bo Bice says he was stunned last Friday when an employee at Popeye's Chicken in Hartsfield-Jackson made a racial comment.
One of the 3 young ladies behind the corner said, "He's already got his, that white boy over there."
The former American Idol contestant says all he wanted was an apology, but he didn't get it from corporate, so he went to social media to share what happened.
I don't care if you're Bo Bice, Bo Jackson, or Bo Diddley. When you're walking through that airport, you should be treated the same. And when you're giving your money to an establishment, you should be treated the same as anybody.
A double standard? Bice thinks so.
If the tables had been turned and I had used something and been as insensitive as to say something like that, you're talking about that I would be boycotted. There would be people not buying my albums. There would be people coming and picking in at my shows and everything else.
Tuesday, we reached out to Popeyes about the incident. Mac 2 Incorporated, which owns the airport franchise, released this statement saying, quote, Mac 2 Incorporated is very sorry that the incident occurred and for any pain or embarrassment that Mr. Bice experienced. The company does not condone the behavior of one of our associates, and we took corrective action as soon as we were made aware of the incident.
That's all I want, is an apology.
An emotional Bice says the issue goes much farther than this particular incident.
And the fact that I've got to sit on TV and come down a notch and look like a petty little brat by tweeting and Facebooking this just to open up dialogue so we can have an adult conversation is ridiculous. In America, you should be ashamed.